tune in again to another episode of The Journey 2020. We welcome you to this hour where we hope to share information, education, have a laugh or two, but hopefully with you going away knowing a little bit more about your world and our world. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. John Robertson, and I'm a clinical psychologist here in Orlando, Florida. And in my therapy or counseling sessions, I don't get an opportunity to give my thought or my opinion. But on the Journey 2020, we keep it real. Not that we don't keep it real in therapy sessions, but I get to let you know what I think and hopefully also why I think it. Along with that, an individual who lets the world know even more about what he thinks is my co-host, the intrepid Mr. Charles Morris.
See, I'm trying to see, because last time I did this, I had glasses on my head, so I'm trying to figure out whether or not I have the glasses, but I guess I don't.
It's just that look of wisdom.
Well, I just had them a second ago. No. Anyway, hello everyone. I'm Charles Morris. Welcome to the Journey 2020. Doing 20 things at one time. I'm usually pretty good at multitasking, but I've got so many things running through my mind as we were sitting here talking about the show topic today. But I want to welcome you to the Journey. Happy that you are joining us here. A lot of people right now may be complaining about the rain and the thunder and everything, but I love it. I love the rain. As a matter of fact, I went to Jacksonville yesterday to see my father. Oh, okay. And they were saying, well, it's raining. I go, well, I like riding in the rain. And they, really? And it's like, yeah, I like driving in the rain. The whole concept of the rain, I love it and everything. And if you know anything about Florida, especially in the summertime, you can kind of set your watch by the showers in the afternoon and in the evening, so they come by at least, kind of blow by at least once a day. During the summer, I heard a gentleman coming that was a tourist here, and he was complaining about the rain. And I said, well, you know very little about Florida then, because it doesn't rain long. When we do have those rain spells, but that's just much part of Florida as the sunshine. Exactly. So anyway, welcome to the Journey 2020.
Not to interrupt your thought, but I tell you, Charles, one of the things that I have noticed, and at some point, we definitely want to do a show on that. I have noticed a real change in the weather pattern here in Florida since I moved here. And we moved here in 2002. And just like you said, I used to be able to set my watch almost meticulously on when the rains came, because it would rain for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and around about 4 o'clock, you could just be ready and say, okay, we're going back out to the beach or back outside, etc. And about 95% of the time be accurate. These days, though, and I don't know if you've noticed this, that when it rains, it seems like it'll start either earlier than it used to, and a lot of times in later than it used to. So I don't know. Now my neighbors tell me that it's really all of us Yankees that came south from the north that messed up the weather. Okay? So I don't know if that's the case, but I definitely have noticed a change.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that what people don't really know is that a lot of time, well, if you really pay attention, in the month of August, you will see that the weather starts to change in August. If you really start paying attention, you can tell for us, because a lot of people say that we don't get the full 4 seasons. But if you start to really notice the weather and the rain and how it starts to change in August. Summer, you can tell that summer is coming to an end. Yeah. So if you really pay attention, and now is when I'm going, okay, the season for me is now starting to change as far as fishing wise. That's why I pay close attention, because now I'm getting ready to go into that sheep head mode where the weather's starting to change a little bit, but also
just rub it in.
Yeah, but also for those who are doing the freshwater thing, like now, it just finished raining. You can go catch some bass and some other fish right now if you are fishermen, when you think in the terms of, oh yeah, because now it's starting to stir up as the water come in, then it's starting to stir up the bottom, and as the water flows, then the fish are starting to stir up stuff. As the water come in, then the bass are going, they sitting there waiting, like, yeah, okay, come on.
Right, for dinner.
Right.
That's
But our topic today,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to talk about Mr. Bill.
Okay. We got to give him his props.
Right.
Say Dr. Dr. Bill. All right.
Okay.
All right. Whatever.
But originally, Mr. Vince Carter Sr. was supposed to be on the show today, and he's stuck up in Tennessee. Been traveling a lot this summer, and he's been trying to come on the show because so many things have been happening. So hopefully, he said, Charles, I would be there next week. So in addition to some of the other things that we wanted to talk about, I did want to address Dr. Cosby, and not for the reasons that people may think, okay? Because as a matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and start it, okay? I mean, I'll start like this, and I was hoping that Dr. Crosby would be here because I wanted a woman's opinion.
Yeah, Dr. Ada, right, yeah.
Dr. Ada, okay.
Right.
I start off by saying it like this. We get into this discussion a lot, and I don't ever look at it the way most people look at it. I don't know anything. I can only share with you my journey in the circle in which I have traveled. So I take note in for my journey. I don't ever look at an individual in the sense of stardom or anything like that. I look at people as people.
Okay.
Now, if you're blessed to have, I can admire your discipline. I can admire your achievement. But I don't look at you at the mountaintop and where you live or what you drive or the clothes that you wear.
Right.
I can admire the things in which you have accomplished in life. I can admire you for it, but I don't know you.
Right.
Okay. And I've lived long enough to know that there are people are people. And so for the same people who we look down upon on the different stages of where they are in life, there have been plenty of people who are accomplished, as we like to label them, just as much as murderers. They're foul, they're evil. They don't care about people are people.
Yeah.
But for some odd reason, you seem to get a pass a lot of times, or for some odd reason, there's more expected of you because you are accomplished.
Yeah.
Now, you could be just as sick as all outdoors, but because of where you live, there's more expected of you because you're supposed to have this intellect to say that, well, I should be able to decipher between right and wrong and all this other stuff.
Right.
And to me, I don't know how you calculate that, because they'll say something like, well, you went to Harvard and you're supposed to know better. And I'm still trying to figure out, how do you come up with stuff like that? Because you're academically able, so therefore you should be able to. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but in your profession, it would appear that you may come across people who are people, but just because you're intellectually inclined to be able to pick up a book, read it, take a test, pass it, doesn't mean you have common sense, or even have work skills, people skills, or social skills.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I can be a brain surgeon and have great hands, and I can do all these things. That doesn't mean that I have people skills. Doesn't mean that I have social skills.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Are you bad-mouthing my brother, Ben Carson?
I don't know him, so I'm not gonna give him that kind of credit. Is what I'm saying.
I have to get that one in
right.
there. You got to pardon me.
Right. So what I'm saying is, like, we get into this discussion about, which is something separate but yet the same. When they talk about Tiger Woods, I remember when Tiger was in the headlines, right?
Yeah, good example.
And to me, and I hope that I can express this correctly.
Okay, you on the roll.
When it's somebody like Bill Cosby, forget Bill Cosby.
Right.
When it's somebody who has fame
Right. Yeah.
and in fortune, who has money, who has power, it does not surprise me of the things that you do because who we are as people. So we want to make them up to be these people that we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tiger, to me, you can't tell me he didn't love his family, he didn't love his wife and all. That has nothing to do with his love for his family and his wife. To me, he's a man who has always been catered to, who has been empowered. And to me, it's like, I'm Tiger Woods. You're going to tell me that I can't do these things?
Right.
I know I provide for my family. I know how I love my family. I know how I feel. So long as I'm doing my thing, what I'm supposed to do as a father and a husband, in the sense that they're taken care of. What you mean I can't do this?
Right.
And I ain't doing nothing wrong, because long as nobody knows, I'm doing Tiger.
Right.
And I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah, no,
but
I got
I'm
it.
using a person who has everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he's a human being from the standpoint, I'm self-centered. That's who we are. That ego, the ego. And for somebody who has fame and fortune, and you going, well, yeah, I should be able to do this because this is who I am.
Right.
And I got all what I need. I'm empowered.
Yeah.
So when something would come out like a Bill Cosby, people are surprised. Or they would say something like, well, you know, Martin Luther King fooled around on his wife. Like, really? Are you really surprised? Well, you know, Jesse Jackson fooled around on his wife. Really? Are you surprised? And then people act like they're surprised.
Yeah.
And you look at it and be like, well, they're people.
Yeah.
And now I can say he's just a man. Now they'll take that somewhere else. But in reality, he's just a man.
Right.
And not
right.
saying this and that, but he's just a man. It's how we label them is what I have a problem with.
Okay.
I'm not talking about what's right or wrong. I'm talking about us as a culture, as a society, how we don't even know these people.
True.
And we're trying to make them righteous.
Well, let me ask you this: when you say, Charles, we label them, what do you mean? Where are you coming from?
Well, I'm saying because Bill Cosby is hey, you know, because
Right.
he does the Fat Albert, he does the I Spy,
Right.
He's a great producer. He's funny as a comedian.
Right.
And the other thing too, in this profession where you work, I say this all the time. I say there's people who may be a great father, but suck at being a husband.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you could be a great husband, but suck at being a father. Or you could be a great father to your son and lousy to your daughters.
Yeah.
And vice
Exactly.
versa.
Exactly.
So we try to put these pieces together to try to make. And it's funny because I was in church last week and I heard the pastor say something that clicked, which he said, we're all in the same storm. Except my storm and my battles and the storm that I'm going through, it may be different, but it's the same storm.
Yeah.
So we all in the storm trying to make it to the next day.
Right.
We're
exactly.
just trying to make it to the next day, giving what we got, doing the best we can, because we're so flawed
Yeah.
to the max. Till sometimes I tell people, I say, well, there's a reason why you flawed. And I said the reason why you struggle in your relationship is because you can't deal with my brokenness. And I'm saying in general,
Yeah.
you can't deal with that I'm flawed. You flawed, I'm flawed, but you want me to be.
Right.
And I always say, I say God made it that way purposely, because how we are, we can love each other so much and be so much into each other or whatever, and we put him over there. And God said, you know what? I'm going to make y'all some broken people where y'all going to always have to remember me or call me somehow, some kind of way.
Right.
Because I'm going to make y'all so broken and so jacked up that y'all going to have to look to me.
Right.
Because that's how we are.
Yeah.
We get so into and we forget about our purpose.
Exactly.
We forget about that we're just human beings that are flawed and each day is a challenge. And just because you're a pastor Because one of the things that Pastor Jenkins said to him said a long time ago, he said, on some days, y'all, I really have to pray. Because some days, and you find that out, because
Right.
some days I'm good in that word.
Right, yeah.
Some days I don't have these challenges. But on some days I need to make about 10 phone calls. Y'all need to pray for me right now.
Right.
Because right now I'm a little flawed. I'm a little broken.
Right.
Right now I'm about to travel over to the dark side. But that's how life is. You have
Yeah.
your peaks and your valleys.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever comes at you at certain times. And I'm not perfect all the time in the sense that, well, you know, you're a sinner. You got that right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly,
you know, I
exactly.
would tell him I'm the most sinful person in this room. Recognize.
Right, exactly.
So, but I'm just saying, with us, it's just like I can be everything but a Christian, because now I got to be perfect.
Well, you see, and I think that that's where, again, our major flaw comes into play, and it's thinking, once we put the label Christian on it, or put the label saved on it, you know, then everything is supposed to be good to go.
Right.
You know, and if we look back, you know, as you were referencing scripture, if we look back at the prophets, as we look back at Noah, you know, who, you know, was certainly flawed. If we look back at Abraham, you know, certainly flawed. As we look back at David, certainly flawed. We look at Solomon,
Right.
certainly flawed. And now all of a sudden, us 20th or 21st century Christians, you know, get in the pews, you know, and we make like, well, okay, we saved, so everything is supposed to be perfect.
Right.
And if we really listen, just as you're saying, that we are simply just flawed people.
Right.
Now,
Right.
one of the things that happens is that as human beings, we love to put people up on a pedestal. Now, two things I want to comment on that. In terms of putting up on a pedestal, often it's not so much that we are revering that person all that highly.
All right.
Often we'll put somebody up on a pedestal, especially when we don't want to get out there and get out in front and take the slings and the arrows.
Right.
And we'll say, well, okay, brother, you know, you the leader, you know, go on ahead out there. I got your back.
Right.
And then what we'll do is that when we say, I got your back, we get way back, you know, and wind up, you know, when that leader, let's say, take Dr. King, you know, has some flaws, has some bumps and nicks and, you know, blemishes on their character. Oh my God, how could he have done that? Okay?
It's funny. It's funny. It's funny.
And we act like we never got into anything that we could feel blamed for or be blamed for or feel some shame.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, see, the thing is that I have an uncle that's been writing a book for a very long time. My grandfather was one of the founders of Sigma. And I always tell a joke that, you know, my grandfather was a nerd.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't get any of his genes because my grandfather was just like off the chain when it comes to, the man was just smart as all get out. He was just a bookworm. The guy was just smart.
Well, see, I had to interrupt you right there because, Charles, as they say, I think you still got some of them genes because they may not be in the books,
Right.
but they're in the thought.
Right.
So, anyhow,
But-
go ahead.
but-
Go ahead with your thing.
And because he was a genius and he was a little bit ahead of his time, and he was, his youngest son, my uncle, has been writing about my grandfather. He cannot finish that book because he cannot deal with my grandfather's flaws.
Really?
Because he puts his father on this pedestal, rightfully so. But because I think he struggles with the truth in the sense of him just being a person, but you want to idolize him for all of his accomplishments and the things that he did and what he's known for.
Right.
But if you're going to tell his story, you got to tell the flaws as well.
Right, absolutely.
So he struggles with that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of comical in a way that he does. Because you just look at him and all you can do is laugh, because it's just like I called up the family because I went on Ancestry.com. And I was able to trace my grandfather back to his grandparents.
Really?
Yeah, I was able to go back and go back and go back and saw his grandmother and so on. Yeah, so I was able to go way back and I saw, and I was like, did y'all know that granddad was married like 2 years before such and such was born? And they was like, no, we didn't know. I was like, yeah, he was married. And then now it's like, but you can't tell Uncle Decatur.
Okay.
That kind of, and it was funny
because
I found out that he had a daughter that was outside the marriage that nobody knew about.
Really?
Yeah. And so she had to be like one of his oldest children.
Yeah.
Right. Before any of his children, before my grandmother. During that time.
Right.
Because the son grew up with his sons.
Okay.
Now my uncle that I'm talking about went to school with him, and to this day he still don't know who that guy is.
And that's his half brother.
That's his nephew.
Oh, his nephew.
Yeah, because
so
his sister had the son who went to school with him.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
Now I've talked to him. We talked, and he tells me, and he's this old school guy, and it's embedded in him that he doesn't want to cause any problems. Now I want to get to know him, and family members want to get to know who he is.
Yeah.
But he's so into, I don't want to cause no problems. I don't want to shake things up. Like, no, you family, man.
Exactly.
And so he's so thinking that it's like, no. And he's this older guy. He got to be in his 80s.
Wow.
In his 80s.
So he might be gone at any time if no contact is made.
And so you try to talk to him. He's a nice guy. And he talks about how his mother would drive past granddaddy's house where I lived in that same house and say, would point out. So would say Pastor Reverend Morse lived there.
Okay.
Your granddaddy lived there. And so he talks about going to school with my uncle, but he would never say anything. He didn't want to tarnish. He didn't want to bring any shame on the family, who my granddaddy was. None of that stuff to this day.
Wow.
I still have to it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. and it is so interesting that in some ways, we in one instance, we try to suppress the flaws that we have. But Charles, isn't it interesting? And before we came on the show, we were talking about Bill Cosby, and I said, Bill Cosby, some of the things going on kind of remind me, or I can see a connection, with someone like Donald Trump.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. But that's all part of that. The power.
There you go.
The power.
Yeah.
And but see, when I try to have conversation just about who we are, we seem to struggle because I always say we're not as civilized as we want to make ourselves out to be. That's why there's always wars and
Yeah.
crime and craziness and madness because we're not nearly as civilized as we want to make ourselves out to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I gave you that scenario. I don't know if you remember, but I said if you had a plane crash and you had about 25 survivors, and it was about maybe 15 men and the rest was women. They were out in the wilderness, didn't know where their next meal was coming from, didn't know what was. You would see the natural instincts of who we are would come into play.
Right. Yeah.
Because at that
Yeah.
point, Donald Trump wouldn't mean jack.
Exactly.
Oprah wouldn't mean jack.
Exactly.
And if they and I say this, people look at me when I say this. I said, the reality of it is, if you whine and complain and in the face of too many people, they will probably kill you and eat you without even thinking about it twice. I'm serious, because the survival mode is going to come out. Because right now, you being Donald Trump, unless you know how to build a fire and know how to go over there and kill something to eat, your intellect in the sense of knowing how to invest in stocks is not helping us right now.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
Trump Towers is not coming into play today.
Right.
Unless we can stay there tonight. So right now, dude, we need somebody that can go over there and make a spear.
That's it.
And know where to find some water.
Right.
And how to make something out of these leaves right here.
There you go. There you go.
But I'm just saying, but I always say when God made man, Harvard was not around.
Right.
Yale wasn't around.
Right.
And I always say, if you ever want to truly understand who we are and how we should be, start out in the garden with Adam and Eve and who they were and how they interacted with each other and how they were supposed to be.
Right.
If you always start from there and who you are in life, then you have a better understanding of our purpose and who we are to each other. It's now how we have made all these other things in which we have evolved into priority and first in our lives, which takes away from. I mean, I'm working with trying to do something with my summit this year. So I got a contact person that I'm trying to talk to, and I can't get in contact with her. Then she'll text me. Like, no, I need to talk with you.
Right.
I don't need to text you. I need to talk to you.
Right.
You know, I need to talk. Text. Like, you know, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
We have learned how to distance from each other while supposedly getting in closer communication.
Well,
You know?
I mean, we are meant to communicate and relate and talk and have relationship with each other naturally, because that's how it was supposed to be, or that's how it's supposed to be. But for somebody like, and I said somebody like Bill Cosby and what we do, I feel bad if what is being said is true, but I'm trying to place myself in the mindset, because there's two things. Okay, all right. Now, I mean, I'll give it to you. I mean, I'll give it to you raw.
Okay, let's get there.
There's two things.
Uh-huh.
There's a difference in the sense that as a man, especially a young man, I'm a young man. I'm in my 20s, late 20s. I got fame. I got fortune. I got it going on. Now, I want to get the girl. That's just, well, let's just say let's just say I'm an NBA player.
Right.
I'm an NFL player. I'm a professional athlete. Okay. When I go out at night, I'm going out to get the girl.
Right, right.
Now, there's a difference in the saying I'm going out to get the girl and I got the fame and the fortune, but what does that say about me if I got to drug her to get her? I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. No,
I want to get the girl. Got that? That's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but I gotta say to myself, I don't have the game enough, and I say game.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe even the patience. But I'm so self-centered that I can violate her to a whole nother level.
Okay.
See, there's a difference because, see, a woman will argue with you, well, you know, you lied to me, you misled me, and blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. You told me I was the only one, da, 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 da. You know, that's how you got me. That's how you convinced me.
Right.
Okay, I got that game.
Right. Okay.
All right?
Yeah, that's
okay,
one thing.
okay, I got
Right.
you running in, I got this one coming in, I got this one coming in, I got to go here, I got it. Because, you know, I got that game.
Exactly.
But the whole nother level of the game is I'm going to drug you and violate you that way. That's
Okay.
now
Go ahead
I'm not
with it.
no, but see, I'm not even going to talk about from a legal standpoint.
Right.
I'm talking about just the mindset to say I want to get you this way.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like when they talk about these pedophiles.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
I can relate to wanting to get the girl.
Uh-huh.
I can't relate to a grown man wanting to deal with a child.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and what I'm saying is sometimes to me, we don't treat them as if though they're sick. Because I'm trying to process that whole thing of this is what really excites me.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
to think about what excites me when it comes to a woman, I get that.
Right.
But now you're taking it to a whole nother level where you're going to go after a little boy or whatever it is. To me, you can't prosecute or you can't take somebody into court and charge them as if though they're normal.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not normal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But
right.
isn't that what we do? Isn't that what we do?
Well, it's interesting. Well, let me put it this way, that coming from a point of view as a psychologist, you know, absolutely that's not normal.
Right.
However, and this is the hypocrisy in our legal system, and that is that instead of treating the person as a sick person, they are simply treated as criminals. And I'm not saying, and when I say simply treated, often the sickness is often not addressed.
Right.
You know, that they're simply put, you know, behind bars. And then, you know, unfortunately, street corner justice, you know, often prevails, you know,
Right.
in incarcerated. And we as a society, and in our hypocrisy, well, or simply say, well, he deserved it. Okay?
I mean,
Which is an easy way. Now, I'm not saying that these criminals, you know, should go scot-free,
right.
but it's an easy way of not dealing,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
you know, with the illness.
Right.
So that, and Charles, you really made a connection that that I'm sure that you can see, and that is that the kind of distorted thinking that goes into a grown man getting sexually excited or sexually involved with a young child, that to me is on the same plane as someone like a Bill Cosby. You know, and at this point, the number I believe has gone from like 45 to 50 women.
Well,
Okay.
now I have a hard time seeing that one now. I'm trying to understand because I have a hard time seeing that one because I can understand. I can understand the ego.
Okay.
I can understand the ego that I can go, well, yeah, I can, you know, because of who I am,
Right.
I basically what you're saying is I'm writing my own laws, and because
Right.
I'm so self-centered, I can get away with it.
Right. Right.
You know, I feel so empowered.
Right.
But that's
Let me put a label on
but
it.
that's another adult though. That's another adult versus a child.
No, but but Charles, when you go and knock somebody out with a drug, and basically you have an inert body.
No,
Okay.
no, but see, but what I'm talking about, no. I'm talking about we're actually kind of talking about two different things then.
Okay.
Because
let me hear what you're-
because I'm talking about the child that you're looking at. It's a child though, versus this. But this is an adult, because the violation of the human being, yes, but
Yeah.
this is a child. Okay, now neither one of them at that under the circumstances can't defend for themselves.
Right.
But in my mind, I can see how I can justify it more so if it's an adult, though, because I could be so, and this is what I try to convey. You can agree or disagree.
Okay.
This is what I try to convey to women. I said, first of all, you don't know me, and I'm talking about the male species.
Right. Right.
Okay, that's why I wish that she was here so we can kind of go back and
Right.
forth a
Get
little
the
bit.
woman's point of view.
Right, because I try to say, and I would love to say this, how many times I've had conversation with women and they talk about men and why men do what they do. I said, well, you don't understand what it is to have a penis, so you don't get it.
Oh, okay.
You don't understand my challenge is having a penis. Well, it's just an excuse. Well, I said, well, it's been an excuse since the beginning of time then. Okay? Because if it's just an excuse, to you it's just an excuse because you can't fit, it doesn't fit into your realm of who you think I am.
Yeah.
Because you done made this picture of what you want and what you want to love and what you want to love. But that's not the reality. That's your reality in the sense of this perception. So just thinking in the sense that I can even see the man saying, I'm doing this to her because I know she really wanted it anyway. Because men can be that self-centered and that egotistical.
Right. Right.
So in a way, I'm really just helping her out.
Right.
You know.
Well, Charles, the sad thing about it is that often with pedophiles, in my dealing with them, will often say, oh, well, I was really trying that the child, and this is sometimes how distorted thinking is, well, the child really wanted to go along with it. Okay?
Well, see, that's where I have a problem with because it's a child.
Oh, okay.
It's a child. I mean, that's just. I don't want to change the subject.
Right. No, I think we're getting on to this.
No, I don't want to change the subject, and I don't want to sound like I'm not compassionate.
Right.
But where I'm from, and the people that I know, there's no way that the people in my circle would have let a 14-year-old travel from Florida to the Bahamas in a boat. Okay?
Oh,
because it's a child.
Yeah.
It's a child.
Yeah.
And they recognize that it's a child.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is, when you're dealing with a child, it's a child.
Okay. No, I got
okay,
that.
okay.
I got that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. What I'm trying to say is that in that instance, you put a child in a different category. And what I'm saying is that although a woman may be a grown woman, when you have an unconscious grown woman, in front of you, that is, again, they're two different stages of life. But
that's sick, by the way.
But that's precisely.
But what I'm saying is, we both agree that that's sick.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
All right. But there's a difference between an adult, and it's still sick either way.
Okay.
But let me put it to you like this. let me put it to you like this. I don't have a problem if you took that person that's dealing with that child and just threw them off the Empire State Building. Don't have a problem.
Oh, okay. You have to come back with me on that one.
No. What I'm saying, because it's a child. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I
missed you on that one.
Well, what I'm saying is, if I violate a child versus an adult, I think that the adult has the ability not to be so damaged from the actual act. And I think that the adult can, hopefully better recover and deal with it versus violating a child.
Well, see, that's where you and me have to part company.
Well,
Okay.
no. I'm saying I'm hoping.
Right, okay,
I'm
no, I
hoping.
got you, I
No,
got
I'm
you.
saying I'm
Yeah.
hoping
Yeah.
because. No, I'm saying I'm hoping that the adult. Not saying that they do.
Right.
I'm saying I'm hoping that the adult would be able to deal with it in a way that it wouldn't be as damaging as it would be to a child. But I know it varies from person to person,
Yeah, exactly,
from
exactly.
personality to personality.
And I think that, again, I'm really glad that we're having this conversation because many people will say, well, how come these women just come into the forefront now?
Well, yeah, a lot of them were scared. A lot of them felt, in situations like this, sometimes they feel it's their fault. They did something wrong.
Right.
How can I go up against this man? This is Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby.
This is Cosby.
Right.
And,
This is
blah, blah.
this is Dr. Huxtable.
Right, yeah, yeah.
How could
Right.
somebody accuse Dr. Huxtable?
And the same thing happens when you're a child. The same thing, because it's an
exact-
adult. It's the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And there's been situations where, because I watch the ID channel a lot.
Okay.
I watch it a lot.
Okay.
And there's been situations where, and you probably know this, where kids were violated and they came back when an adults and they tried to kill that person later on.
Yeah.
Because something clicked, be like, oh, wait a minute, because of what they went through. And as we've had people on this show to talk about some of the things that they went through, how they act out in school. They was angry, they got into fights, and nobody knew what was going on. They just thought they was some little kids that was just, didn't know what was
kids,
right.
So-called.
Right.
Exactly. And see, the thing about it, and we're talking about, let's say, the children in one instance, women in another instance. But think about, and I think this relates back to what we were talking about power. Okay? And that is, just as Bill Cosby was able to have this stuff hidden for so many years because of power.
Right.
In many instances, what's his name? Donald Trump has people, pushing him up again because of power. Now, many people don't remember the nasty divorce and all of the mess that Donald Trump got into in his. I remember if it was it's the first divorce, because I think he was divorced more than once, but that was a whole mess, and any number of things that he had done. The reason why, power, and so a lot of disaffected individuals, and by disaffected, many. Primarily whites, but I presume that there are probably some black folks also that want to lift Donald Trump up and elevate him, despite his being really an idiot, in my point of view.
Well, yeah, he is.
Okay.
Well, every time he speaks, he shows it.
Exactly.
Right.
But want to lift him up because they look at the things that he has,
Right.
the kind of super bling that he has, and say, he must be okay. He must be somebody who deserves, okay, or is entitled to be a leader because he got a lot of money and power.
Exactly.
And so many individuals, like the women who just coming out now and talking about Bill Cosby, before this, were afraid because this was looked at as as an untouchable, and often what in our society warps things is that sense of being powerless.
Let me ask you from a clinical standpoint, and I know you can't answer this, but I'm going to ask.
So you always ask me this question I can't answer. But
Well,
anyway, I'm teasing you.
no. You can answer it from this point of view.
Uh,
What might be some of the things that his wife and children might be going through under the accusations that their father and the husband, Bill Cosby, is in the midst of all of this? What are some of the mental, psychological things that might be happening with them going through this as they look at this father figure who has been bigger than life? What may be some of the things that they may be trying to deal with that that they may not even show, no one will know, that they might not even share
with
share with anybody?
one of the things, and this is where we get down to, again, the common man, all right? Because we think that these folks, like
Somebody that you love, somebody that's somebody that you looked up to.
exactly. One of the things that often happens, and I think many people in our audience may be able to relate to this, is a sense of denial. Okay, and that is it can't be, our father, our husband, etc. And again, as we're thinking about the individuals who have been abused as a child, who have often tried to tell a parent or tell a mother or father, and often the reaction is, "Oh, you must be lying. It can't be." Okay,
Right.
denial is one of the things that may happen. Okay, the other, to that family member, again, if the denial isn't there, well, and the denial will be partially there in most cases, but the other thing is a sense of overwhelming shame.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, that sense of and often this may happen with children, is a sense of their world literally being shattered.
Yeah. I can only imagine them them just going out now in their circle of family and friends, or what it must be like. I don't know. I don't want to be in their shoes, but
Right.
but at the same time, when you look at and you go along in your years and you just think about when you're young, you got fame, you got fortune, and you're very immature. That old saying, "What you do in the dark
It's
shall
gonna
eventually
come
come
out
to
in-
light." And then for him to be this elderly man now, I just wonder what toll it is having on him, if it's having any at all, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. I mean, he in a way, I kind of look at it as a way that for him it's a blessing, because it's been so many years. So I don't think there's that much that can be done other than just him being in the spotlight, because legally, man, woo.
Oh yeah.
But
That would've
then
been-
I heard that one of the ladies who came out about 2 weeks ago, that he drugged her, and he was at one of the Playboy mansions, but she was 15.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the heck you doing? Nothing to do with Bill, but I'm like,
Right.
you 15 and you at the Playboy mansion? Like, what the heck you doing at 15 years old?
Yeah.
Whatever that world is and whatever
Right,
that's
yeah,
about.
yeah.
So she's like 15, and I'm like, wow. Like, okay. But for things to be coming out now, and for him, I think he will be fine, simply because it's just, and what I mean by that is his circle is probably small anyway, and where he goes and what he does, and he's probably going to still be supported by his family and friends, because he has the means that he probably can go, and we may never even see him again in the sense of public and whatever, because he has those kind of means and stuff
Right,
like that,
exactly.
and he's
Right.
to be
He's set. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So,
yeah.
and not in the sense that won't still hurt him mentally and
Oh
emotionally.
yeah, it will.
But, and I'm not trying to say I feel sorry for Bill Cosby. Just thinking about that whole dynamic of it being what it is now is kind of like, wow. But the other thing too is probably the members from that show was probably pissed off because they done took them off, and they'd be like, "Man, you messing with my checks, man. You messing with my checks, man. What bill, man?"
I thought about that, but yeah, exactly.
You know, and I wonder how they feel. You know, I wonder, and I know that they've probably been interviewed and asked, you know, and that's a tough situation to be in, you know, because you love this guy, and you probably had this image of him that you saw him as his father figure.
Yeah.
And
well, I remember when they interviewed Felicia Rashad,
okay,
Mrs. Cosby,
okay,
and how she was being very protective. This was probably a couple months back when it first started breaking, and saying that what she knew of Bill Cosby, that this wasn't him, et cetera, et cetera. So even at that level, you know, her own credibility, you know, is called into question.
Well, I mean, but not necessarily so, because if he had a food, he had a food.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So if she doesn't know him that way, if he didn't try that with her, and if he had America food, he may have had her food.
Yeah, true.
You know.
But again, you know how our American society is, that once one is you paint the whole offense with the same brush.
Right.
You know.
But then again, we are a country that love to sue, and if we can get a chance to because so when it kind of starts out that way, you kind of like, oh, you know, and not. I mean, not nothing to do with Bill. I'm just talking about somebody that you come after money.
Yeah.
Because we love money so much, you know. You know, so a lot of times you be like, well, you know, you're attacking him just because you now can probably get some money, because you know that's how we are in this culture. And,
yeah. Exactly.
So when it first starts out, whether it's Bill or anybody, you're gonna be like, oh, there's somebody trying to get some money, because it's kind of hard to believe. But again, it doesn't surprise me at all, not even a little bit. It's just sad.
One of the things that, and I'm watching our time because we're coming up to a close, that when you were talking about in a few editions of the Journey Back, when you were talking about narcissism. One of the things
we got to do that show, by the way,
is a factor. I just thought I'd bring that up again and tweak us with it. That allows individuals like a Donald Trump, okay, like a Bill Cosby, to feel that they are entitled to do some of the things that they do, is that sense of narcissism, the sense that everything centers around what my needs are.
Right.
That it is how I see things. It is what is going to satisfy me. It is going to what turns me on.
Right.
It is how I see the world. So when you get that kind of thinking that gets embedded in the character, and that's something that arises very early on in life, you have a fertile field then of somebody given the power, given the opportunity. What do they call it in criminal law? The means, motive, and opportunity. Then you get someone who may be looked at as a good guy by the people that, as you say, don't really know him, and who can commit these kind of very sick behaviors.
Right.
And then we in the public then say, oh my goodness, how could he have done that?
It was just,
but
yeah.
But not knowing that the seed of that may have been planted from way back.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is that we it's kind of hard to like I said. I mean, but see, it's so crazy to the point that I got, if you want to get the girl, but to that level of just being that arrogant of wanting to get the girl, and then you try to be like, well, how do you do that? Because they're knocked out. I
Oh,
guess I
okay,
don't know. I
okay.
don't know, because I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, like, huh? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I
well,
don't know.
well. See, that's again why as we look at it, that's why it seems that strange, weird,
What
etc. You know.
like I said, like I watch the ID channel and I see some weird stuff. Okay, now it's weird because there's a guy that they caught years later that he killed this little boy when he killed him and then he had sex with him. He killed him and then he had sex with the little boy. They caught him like 15, 20 years later.
Yeah.
And he just said, well, I just killed him and I did what I did, blah, blah, blah. Then he went on, and at that time he was supposedly had a normal life, had been married and got kids and everything else. And I, as a saying, see, I get the fact that I'm a man and I love women and whatever it is, that stage of your life where you know you love women, you love women. I get all of that. I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, how do you go, this is going to get me off? That is just so mind boggling to me that whether it's an animal, a corpse, or whatever it is, I'm like, oh,
Well, again, sometimes we just don't know the damage that resides, in so many of us. There are individuals who have risen to the highest level. Who was it? We talked about this congressman. What was his name? Denny Hester. Okay, and this was a man who came within, I think, what was it, 2 or 3 steps from the presidency, being the Speaker of the House.
right.
Okay, and here's a man who, when again, what is it? Means, motive, and opportunity.
Right.
When he was a high school teacher, apparently had molested, and I believe it was more than one youngster. Okay. And here is a man who is at the near the pinnacle of power in this country, and who in the rest of his life they were saying, well, he's so namby-pamby or were boring that they'd be the last one that you would think of that.
Right.
But if the flaw, is there, it's there, and if individuals can cover it up, then in the best of us, and we know that we're all sinners, that we all have a dark side, and when we think of someone like a Denny Hester, we think of a Bill Cosby, we think of a Trump.
Well, see, and again, I would love to have heard a female opinion on this. I really, really, really would, and maybe we can talk about it again.
I think we ought to continue the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm really fascinated with that whole mindset of just. I mean, something that you probably understand that I don't understand, because I understand that as far as the sickness, and the things in which we may encounter, the personalities and the things that happen, with us. I can kind of understand being angry and you taking your anger out on things, and that kind of stuff when stuff happens, but to the degree of dealing with a corpse and all that stuff, I can't process that. That's just out of my limits of being able to go, oh, in your mind you're going, oh, this is a good thing, because I just can't. That is just beyond my understanding of being a human being, let alone the fact that I understand what it is for us to interact, and I talk to you, you talk to me, you touch me, I touch you, all that other stuff that comes along with it, and to see your smile and just to be part of us being together doesn't fit into none of that. None of that. Whether or not I done slip you a Mickey and you out like this and all this. I'm trying to figure out like what's the enjoyment in that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And even if I'm egotistical and self-centered enough to realize that my game got you, I get that. You know, I'm so self-centered. My game got you, baby.
Right.
You know, so I can feel good about that.
Yeah.
But that feel good about, ooh, baby. Wake up, huh? What happened? What happened? Ooh, I don't have no clothes on. What happened? No, I don't get that.
Well, the thing that as you said, with the game, that you may have somebody that is narcissistic in that way, but often someone like a Cosby, and I wouldn't try to diagnose them, etc. But it to me indicates an extremely low, almost non-existent self-esteem.
Well, I mean, you would, because remember what I was saying about getting a girl?
You're right, yeah.
And that's what I meant, because being a man and understanding, it's almost like you can't get the girl. And you got money.
Right. Yeah, right. When you think about it,
you can't get the girl.
Right. So it's not the individual capability, because again,
Right.
if it was really simply getting the girl, I mean, now let's as they say,
Right, yeah.
give it to it raw. You go ahead and pay some money.
Right. And that's why, I mean, because I try to put myself in the situation, because like one of my favorite shows is like The Big Bang Theory.
Oh,
right.
yeah,
I love that show. That's one of my favorite shows. Period.
I hear you.
I love them, and you get so frustrated because they always mess it up with the girls. They just do and say the dumbest thing that they don't even realize. It's almost like the girl could be like, "Okay, we're gonna do this,"
Right.
and something will come out of their mouth. You be like, "No, you big dummy! You can't say that. You about to get the girl,"
Right.
and it's almost like you want to go kick them.
Right, exactly. And I think that in some ways that plays on an essential, if you want to call it, insecurity.
Right.
That is in a lot of us as men, that we like to play off. But again, many of us have learned how to, as you call it, play the game.
Right.
So that as they say, in playing the game, you may catch one, miss one, etc.
Right.
Now, folks, I'm talking about way back in the day when I was a young single man. Okay, but
It's okay.
There you go.
It'd be like, I'm still alive, though. I'm still alive.
There you go.
Hey.
But many individuals, because of deep personality flaws, and that's what we're really talking about, with someone like a Cosby, is the kind of person that deep within is the one who, let's say, with the money and the power, could get the girl, but somewhere down deep within, feels that getting the girl in this way, and there are many there are many versions of why that is, but that in getting the girl in this way, I can give myself the most pleasure. Okay.
Wow.
Because remember, now, he had a wife,
Right.
he had kids,
Right.
so it meant that he was able to have sex. Hopefully, hopefully he didn't have to knock out his wife,
But see, I don't see it that way though.
Okay.
I honestly don't see it that way in the sense of what you're just saying.
Okay.
Because it still goes back to, and this is what I try to say to the women, which they don't understand. I say, because you don't walk around with a penis, I say one of my biggest challenges in life is, even though I'm married to you, I'm trying to figure out, like, why can't I have 15 of you? I just don't understand. See, so when you're in that mindset of being young, and the self, flesh,
Right.
Because marriage goes against all of what my makeup is. And what I sense my makeup, because I try to tell them, I say, I'm born knowing how to chase you. I'm knowing how to deal with what happens when you walk in the room, because
Right.
that's natural.
Right.
I said there's a process, and I have to learn how to be in a relationship. I have to learn how to be married. I know how to chase you. I'm born knowing how to do that. I mean, I'm saying I know how to deal with my natural instincts. So learning to be this person, what it takes, is a process.
Okay.
And especially if I've been raised and nobody has taught me, so it's a longer process. So, but you think just because you love me, I'm supposed to know how to love you back.
Right.
I love you the best way I know how to love you.
Right.
But I'm always gonna love myself first.
Okay. Let me pose something to you. What if you had got all of that information about how to be in a relationship, how to love, etc., but you placed no value on that?
Well, see, that's the whole thing in which I try to tell them. I say, a lot of times when men are people, it's not a matter of whether they love you or not. It's a moral issue. So you try to, well, if you love me, like, no, if he loves you, he loves you. He loves you the best way he knows. It's a moral issue. Who is he? But
Okay.
you want to place it on this emotion when in reality,
Okay. I got
okay,
it. Yeah,
okay. When in reality, I can always write my own rules
You're
if
right,
I'm
yeah.
going by my standards of how I see life and what life should be.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and if I write my own rules and I live by my own rules, then I can get away and live life any way that I choose that'll bring me the pleasure that I want. And I don't think I'm a bad guy.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
when I try to convey, like, okay, well, you got these rules over here, and I'm talking about if you understand who Christ is, and things are written out for you, and you're trying to go by these rules that has been written, because God knows man,
Right.
He knows what He created, so He got rules for you.
Right.
So if your marriage is based around you and your husband rules, ain't telling what's gonna happen.
Right. Hey, there you go.
Okay, so now if you don't have the foundation and you're trying to achieve and live up to these standards which has been given to you, and if your marriage is based on that, you have a foundation on that, you got something that you can live in and accomplish, versus, because we crazy,
Right.
we
right.
self-centered,
Yeah.
we on emotions, and we don't know nothing, but this is what I'm living by, then you can't figure out why it's not working.
There you
So
go.
I just say to them, if I'm living by my rules, hey,
You say anything.
hey,
to make it
hey, it'd be like, well, when your sister coming over, and when you leaving. So my rules.
Right. Right.
But if you love me, if you love me.
Different perspective.
But I'm saying,
different
if this
set of
is how I know how to love you,
Yeah.
they don't understand that.
Yeah.
And it can work both ways.
Right.
Because the guy going, well, you supposed to love me. Well, I do love you. This is how I know how to love you. I
Right.
don't know anything else.
Yeah.
They don't understand that.
Exactly. Charles,
I know.
on that note,
Yes.
you know, and you had the final word, we got to close.
Hey, yeah.
All right,
Usually
all right.
I'm saying that. But go ahead and close us out.
I think we did a good show. Family, again, you can see how we get into conversations just with Charles and myself here, and we could do probably a whole nother hour, but we're going to have to close now. So thank you for joining us tonight. Hope you got some information, education. Also, it gave you some room for thought. So with that, we like to say here at The Journey that the journey is from me to you and from you to me, so that we can reach a higher level. Good night. Join us next week.